information about your brand that you can paste things into and then copy it out later when you need to reference it. So we're talking about your author bio, perhaps in different lengths for different places. We're talking about your tagline. We're talking about your brand color and your font choices and your headshot. All of those assets that you will refer to again and again and again in your career. It's worth using this document or folder on your computer as a way to sort of workshop these things, right? To see how they look next to each other. To take a step back and say, do all of these elements point to the same exact target, right? Every single choice that you make should point to the author that you actually are. Now, what does it take? What should this include? Let's start with the elements of your author persona. These are your pen name, your headshot, your tagline, and your author bio. This stuff appears even where your books don't appear, right? Because anytime somebody talks about your book, they're going to talk about your pen name, and they're probably, if they're reviewing your book or something else, they're probably going to include your headshot. They might even reference your specific tagline if you teach people that what your tagline says is really what you actually are. So for me, portal hopping heroics. I write portal fantasy, right? Easy, obvious, and clear. That's the kind of thing that you want to look for when you're designing, when you're copywriting for your brand. What can I say? There was one more thing about this, but we're just going to have to keep moving. Next, graphic design. Now, it's worth noting that graphic design should always be in service of your author persona, should always be in service of these elements. So what does this include? This includes color, fonts, an icon or logo, and styles. Now, a word on your icon or logo. I use icon here instead of logo because a logo can mean a lot of different things. A logo can be a very complex image, but it shouldn't be. What your icon should be is, how do I say this? It should be iconic. It should be simple. You should be thinking about something like the Nike check, or the Target, or the Apple, right? You should be thinking about the kind of icon that looks good when it's huge, but also looks good when it's teeny tiny inside the browser tab, right? Which is when we call it a fave icon. Let's see. I guess we'll talk about this stuff a little bit later, but I just want to point out that color can be very, very useful for differentiating yourself within your genre. So I'll give you an example. In sweet romance, you end up with a lot of pastels, and in particular, a lot of pastel blue and a lot of pastel pink, right? Now, if I were an author going into that genre, I would be thinking, what other pastel could I use that would allow me to stand out, right? Because when you're entering a genre, you want to be the same but different. So you want to let people know that you're still soft and sweet and mellow, but also you've got something to offer that the other authors don't. So I pay attention to the urban fantasy market. It's always a darker background and then a hot neon color up front. And so there was a while where it was purple, a while where it was pink, a while where it was green. Just think about whatever the color isn't right now, do that neon color and you got it, right? Okay, so now one thing else we should say about author branding, your author brand should absolutely express what you offer your readers, but no matter who you are as an author, your author brand should always be professional, beautiful, inviting, and clear, right? These are qualities that every author should have. Professional in the sense that if somebody decides that they want to invite you to their box set, right? That they trust that in the future you will actually contribute, you'll do your marketing part when you participate in that. That you're not going to be the kind of author who talks shit behind other people's backs, right? That you're going to be the kind of author that is congenial, that is kind, that's a team player. Because those are the kinds of people that people are willing to work with. Next, you want your brand to be beautiful, and by beautiful, I really mean consistent and cohesive, right? You want all of the elements to fit together so that a reader knows that if they decide to read your work, that you're going to deliver a consistent experience, specifically the experience that all of those brand elements represent. By clear and inviting, I think this is pretty obvious. People need to know that remember, your brand is a human brand, so people need to feel like that if they met you in real life, you would be best friends. So your headshot, it should be you. Typically, it's going to be you looking at the camera. Typically, it's going to be you smiling. If it's not those two things, it's got to be something like it, right? You could be the mysterious sort of like looking slightly away from the camera, but in a way that invites people to wonder, what is it that this person has on their mind, that sort of thing. But you have to remember that whatever you're presenting to them needs to be something that they're interested in. Okay, so now let's think about this. Before we've even touched the website, we've taken care of the top 2 convincers, right? 2 of the 5 things that a website should have. Okay, now the most controversial statement of this whole thing: when building a website, 1 page is all you need. Oops, at least at first. Now, you will not always need only 1 page on your website, right? You will eventually want to build out those great landing pages for each of your books, where you can sell people on your book before you shuttle them off to Amazon and Barnes & Noble and whatnot. But in the beginning, you want to focus on just that home page, on making that home page awesome. There's a few reasons for this. One, I would assume most of you only write 1 novel at a time, right? And you write 1 novel at a time because you need to focus on it. You need to dig deep into that one thing and get it right before you move on to something else. Your homepage needs to be that thing, right? You need to be able, because 80% of the value of your website is your homepage, right? You could put your books on your homepage, you could put your bio on your homepage, you can have your call to action to sign up for your list and attend your events all on your homepage. That's 80% of the value, right? So when I say that you should focus on your homepage first, I mean that you should make sure that your website is giving you at least 80% of the value before you start to spread your attention and build out those other pages. The other thing is that your website is going to be judged by the worst quality of it. That's how people remember websites, right? We've all had that experience. You land on one good page, and then you click somewhere, it's a broken link, and maybe that's the end, right? Maybe you never hear of that person again. So you want to make sure that the complete experience that you deliver is professional, beautiful, inviting, and clear. That said, after we talk about what a homepage should include, I am going to walk you through every single other page on your site and what those should include too. So, you know, if you're further along in your career and you need those other pages immediately, we're going to do it. Okay, so before we do that, before we talk about what each page should include, let's remember who our audience is, because only by embodying our audience are we fully going to be able to know how to organize the content on our site and what our site should include. So let's pop over to the home page. Now, let's say you click on a link on the internet, right? You click on a link to, you know, TK Standon's, to TK Standon, right? And you expect that you're going to land on, you know, and you hope that on the other side, something that, you know, something's going to happen. So what's the first question you ask when you've got this 300 milliseconds of time between the previous site that you were on and the site that you're going to land on? What are you wondering? I think it's this. I think it's, is this the right place, right? Am I in the place that I expected to get to? I would suggest that you make it very, very clear by sticking your author name right in the place that people are going to look for it, so that when they get there, they know that they've arrived in the right place. Why is it in the top left? It's because we read from top to bottom, from left to right. So you stick it where they look. And they really do look there. Basically, what happens when a user visits a website is they glance at the top left corner, and then they look at the dead center. And we'll get to the dead center in a second, but they glance there first. Now, instead of just having your author name, I'm going to suggest that you brand it, right? Either include your logo image or include your headshot. Definitely put your author name in your logo font. Definitely put it in your brand color. Make that tiny bit of real estate up there do the maximum amount of work. When you're designing a website, you don't want to have a lot of empty space. Yes, you want all of the text to be readable, and you want it to be clear, but you don't want to have the kind of website where a reader visits a page and there's like 3 paragraphs and they have to click somewhere else to do something else. Go deep. Use the space that you have available to you. Okay, what's the next thing that people are going to be thinking when they arrive on your website? This is a trick question because there's 2 audiences for your website. There's the audience who knows they want something from you, and there's the audience who's only curious. Now, we're going to address the curious people later, but since they don't have an immediate specific need, we're going to deal with the people who know what they want first. And for them, we give them, they're asking, how do I find X, Y, and Z? And we're going to give them navigation, top right-hand side. I mean, we know this. We've seen websites before, right? We have, and yet sometimes when authors build websites, they somehow manage to not have these links up there. So in thinking about what a person might want to do on your website, such as get more information about you, go deeper into who you are, or contact you, stick that stuff up there, right? Make it easy for them to find you. So we've addressed the people who come with a mission. Now let's talk about the people who are thinking, what do I do now, right? This was a vaguely interesting person on Twitter. Let me see what there's about. What should I do now? And for them, we're going to use that big, huge screen real estate at the center, right? And we're going to tell them what we want to do. We're going to give them a call to action. Typically what it's going to be is sign up for my newsletter. As we talked about before, your website, in order to convince people to take action, you need persuasive calls to action, right? You need to give them a reason to sign up. And I'm sure you've heard this a million times before, but give them a reason to sign up for your list. Offer them a free book, a free short story, free maps if you write fantasy, free something. Give them some reason to trade their email address. And when it comes to this button, right, this action that you want them to take, make it clear. Let them know that they're signing up for something, right, or subscribing to something, or in the case where you're doing a promotion, buying something. And also make sure it looks like a button, right? A lot of people get this wrong. You might be internet savvy. You might suspect that you could basically click on anything on a website and get somewhere. But many users are not. Many users do not realize that unless something looks like a link or a button, they can click on it. So make sure that every single one of your calls to action looks like a button. Okay, next. You ask them to take action. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They're going to be asking, why should I care? Why should I take this call to action? Or why should I continue looking at that website? Being authors, I'm going to suggest that you include some of your books next, right? That's why people should care about you as an author. So put them next. Now, do not, on your homepage, do not put more than 5 books in this section. You never, ever, ever want to give users of the web more than 5 options at a particular time. So be very picky about which 5 books you offer. On our websites, what we do and what I recommend is that you offer them a mix of 3 things. Your best-selling books, your newest books, and your series starters, because these are the books that are most likely to get people into your catalog. Now, there can be times where you want to highlight something else, right? But if you're in this seminar, probably that's what you want to put up there. Also, obviously, if you've got more than 5 books, give them a link. Now, if your website is only, give them a link to see more. Give them a button to see more. If your website is only 1 page, this library button or the see my catalog button can link to your profile on Amazon, right? Or it can link to your profile on Goodreads. But and if you've got a full site, naturally it should link to your book catalog on your page. But I don't want to give I don't want to say that only 5 books are important in your catalog. Many of them are. Most of them are. All of them are. So you want to give them some way to find the rest. Okay, so now what's the next thing people are going to be thinking after they've seen your call to action and maybe not taken action, and after they've seen your book covers and thought, oh, those book covers are kind of like what I'm interested in. Or maybe they've already signed up, or maybe they've already read you, and they've arrived at your site because they want to know something else. And so what are people going to be thinking of next? They're going to be thinking, how can I go deeper? And one of the great reasons for putting the how can I go deeper section further down the screen is that the people who want to go deeper are willing to scroll further than the people who aren't sure. So how do we help people to go deeper into what we've got to offer? We give them an author bio, we give them a headshot, and we give them a contact button. That's how they go deeper. A word about author bios. These bios are not about you. They're about what you have to offer. So you want to say things like, I write the kind of books that you like, so know who your readers are and let them know that you write those books. Don't mince words. Let them know that you write, what do you call it? Sassy teenage girl urban fantasy with werewolves, right? That's what you write. Tell them. Next, say, I do things that you do. So hopefully you know exactly who your readers are, and you know what else they like, right? So if you're like a military sci-fi guy, you could say, I like shooting my guns and I like Robert Heinlein, right? You let them know that you like the same stuff. Third, you give them some social proof. Let them know that people trust you. If you've got some good pull quotes from authors in your genre, or if you've been featured somewhere, that's the kind of thing that you want to stick in here. Give them some way to go deeper into you and give them some excuse to take some action on your site. Now, if you're good at social media, this is exactly the right place to include your social media links, right? Because they want to go deeper, they want to connect more. You don't want to highlight it because every other call to action is going to be more important, but you do want to put it, especially if you're good at it. Next, we're getting close to the bottom of the page here, right? We've scrolled through quite a bit, and people are going to be wondering, why should I return, right? What's in it for me for coming back to this website in the future? The one thing I recommend to all authors is that you give them a reason, and the reason that I suggest you give them is a work in progress. What are you working on now? What do they have to be excited about? What are they going to look forward to? So if you've got a book cover, stick it. If you've got a temporary book cover, that's cool too. Give them a title. Give them some reason to be excited about it, a full blurb or a partial blurb, and let them know how far in the process you are, right? And don't lie. Don't say that you're 90% of the way done if you know that 1 month in, if you know that it takes you 2 years to write a book. Because there's nothing worse than me as a reader saying, oh, 90% done. I'll check back in a month. I come back, it's still 90% done. I check back in 3 months, still 90% done. I will never check back again, right? Better to say 10% the way along, then 15, then 20, so that every time I come back, I'm like, all right, I'll come back again, because it makes me excited. I want to know when that book's going to be, and I want to be the first one to read it. Okay, if you are further along in your career, right, and you've got things going on, you've got a lot of activities happening, you can also put, as an excuse for them to return, what those activities are, what's going on in your career. So like, what event did you just do? What events do you have upcoming? What award did you just win? Where did you just publish a short story? Who just mentioned you, in their top 10 list? That's the kind of thing that you want to put in an activity stream. Now, I say activity stream and not blog because you should not blog. None of you should blog, right? I would assume that every single one of you is a fiction author. It's almost impossible to use a blog to get people to read your books, so don't do it. Instead, give them this bite-sized content that is actually what they care about. All they care about is that you're a productive author that they should be excited about and that they should care about. And remember, this isn't just for readers. This is also for people in the industry. Let them know too that you've got an active career, that you've got momentum, that you're serious about taking action. Because these activities, as I said, could be events that you're running, right? They might want to take part in the events that you're running, even if you're a smaller author than they are. One more thing. If you're a slow author, if you're not doing this kind of stuff, don't have this section. There's nothing worse than old news, right? It's better to not have it at all. Okay, so now we've officially reached the end of the page. And as you all know, it's very possible that somebody looked at your whole page and didn't do anything, right? They were just trying to get the lay of the land. And so for them, we give them a footer. We mark it in a different color to let them know that it's time to do something, right? We're at the end. And we answered this one fundamental question. What were my options again, right? I read all that, but now what should I do? You want to put the most important one first? So remind them of that freebie, right? Give them the same exact call to action that you gave them at the top of the page. It's consistent. It's a reminder. There's some continuity there. Let them know that they should go do that thing. Secondarily, give them the navigation. Even if you've only got one page on your site, these could be anchor links that pop them back up. But the reason that you put it here, even though it's in the header bar up there, is because their eyes are not on the header bar. Their eyes are really only on the header bar at the beginning of their website journey. When they're scrolling down the page, their eyes are at the bottom. So just remind them of all those exact same links that they could dig deeper into any of those things. And last but not least, you put your copyright statement, and if you're collecting any data on them, you have to have a privacy policy, right? Facebook Pixel, Google Analytics, even in fact signing up for a mailing list, you need to disclose where you're using their personally identifiable information. Okay, so that's the homepage. Now let's review the actions that you can use a website to convince a user to take. Did we get them all? Join your list, buy your books, attend your events, follow your feeds, and fill your inbox. We got them. We got every single one on just the homepage. This is why I say start there. Once you've got a great homepage, and once you're sure that your branding is in place, and once you're sure that that page converts, then it's worth building out the rest of your site because you've mastered these basics, and you could just apply them again to the other pages on your site. Okay, so we're 30 minutes through. We're going to talk very, very quickly about what the other pages should look like. So first one that you're going to want to build after the homepage is going to be your library page, right? Because you have more than 5 books, so you're going to need somewhere to put them. And you're also going to want to put them in order, right? You're going to want to say this is book 1, book 2, book 2.5, right? Because it's a giveaway and you can only get on the list. Book 3, book 4, book 5. Put them in order. Organize. Oh, sorry. I didn't show you anything. So is this the right place? Header. What do I do now? Sign up for the list, right? They're interested in your books. How can I go deeper? And of course, we put the book section here. Why should I return? Again, it's going to be the work in progress. It's all right to duplicate content across different pages on your website. The reason for this is that if I type in Mike Stop Continues Books, I'm going to land on the library page. I'm not going to land on the home page, so I'm not going to see that work in progress widget. So duplicate whenever it's important. And then, of course, what were my options again? And the footer. So let's talk about this. This library is organized, right? It makes it very easy for somebody who read a book 1 in a series to follow through on the rest of that series. What you want to do with these sections, though, is you want to put the things that are most active on the top, and you want to put the things that are least active on the bottom. But otherwise, people are going to be able to figure out for themselves. There's not that much going on this page that they could, they'll be able to scroll. If this is only the second page on your website, it's all right for these book covers to link to Amazon still, right? Because you're adding some value to readers who visit your site, and you're pointing them in the place where they could typically buy the book. If your books are available on many retailers, you do not want to clutter up this page with a link for every single book, a link to every single retailer. It's going to look horrible, and it's going to confuse people. So instead, what I suggest is that where it says series A, X books. Oh, by the way, X books out of Y books, right? You want to say how many. Is the series complete? Readers want to know that, so let them know how close you are to finishing. I am not going to read Stormlight Archives until there's like maybe 1 or 2 left. Then I'll start on that. Titanic thing. I don't want them to die in the meantime. So definitely let them know how many books. And then if you're available on multiple platforms, typically what's going to happen is that some of the content is still going to be KU only, and some of the content's going to be wide. For each series, just mark over here, not for every book, but for the series, what platforms are they available on? And you could make available on Amazon, link to the series page on Amazon, Kobo, link to the series page on Kobo, blah, 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 right? Instead of cluttering the whole thing up with buttons, instead use minimal ones that are maximally useful. Actually, this is, Kendra and I brainstormed this just a few minutes ago, and thank you very much. Okay, next thing you're going to want to do is book pages. Book pages are your new sales pages. Every single ad should run through these things. Every single promo should run through these things. There's 2 good reasons for this. One, as we talked about earlier, Amazon only cares about making Amazon money. They don't care if they sell your book. Those landing pages are not the book pages on Amazon are not optimized around selling your book. They're optimized around making Amazon money. Whereas your book pages, you could express your brand. You could convince people to buy your book before you send them off to the casino of Amazon to get distracted with other things, right? So these are important. The only reason I don't put them first is because your home page is more important, okay? So, book pages, is this the right place? We're going to give them the header, and we're going to give them, and up top here, we're going to give them information about the book. Now this, obviously, you're going to see is very similar to Amazon. You got your cover, you got your metadata, book title, series number, your author name, and any other authors, and then, of course, they're going to be asking, what do I do now? And you're going to give them the blurb and the buy button for that. Now again, if you're wide, don't put a link to every single retailer. If you're wide, stick to the top 4 or 5, right? Again, never more than 5 options anywhere on your website. We do at SITEARCADE, we have these buttons that combine them all. So it says basically, buy on Amazon with a little drop down. If the reader wants something else, they could say Kobo, and then we just remember that reader wants Kobo, and all the buttons instantly switch to Kobo. But typically you're gonna end up with separate buttons. So prioritize them, organize them well, use the brand color of the retailer so it's easier for the person to pick out of a lineup, and always make them look like buttons. People on the internet only know to click on links and buttons. So round them, give them a drop shadow. 3D things are clickable. Everything else isn't in a typical web user's mind. So keep that in mind. Okay, yes?
What about like the universal book code? Like Drop the Digital has one. Is that a good idea here?
You can use it if you like. Look, yes.
Is that
Yeah.
choices? That means one button.
So it is one button, but it leads them to a page that isn't branded, and then you typically get a pop-up where they ask you, do you always want it to be this thing? You do kind of lose people through there, but you know what? In the short term, it's worth it. The thing what I would say is that I know that many authors think that they're going to someday get a lot of sales from Smashwords or from any of those small retailers. That's never going to happen, right? And you also don't want to build you don't want to bank your career on having to have one sale on 500 different platforms. Better that you focus your attention on selling on a few specific platforms. Right now, we know what the big ones are. So I would say that, yes, you can do that, but I would rather that you put those 5 links. Yeah. Okay, so next, what are people going to be... yeah, press kits. We don't have the time to talk about press kits. You could talk to me after about press kits. Why should I care, right? Why should I care about this book? Naturally, the answer is going to be the series. So again, it's all right to duplicate content, and you want to help readers keep cycling around the web of your website. So include all of the books in the series. In fact, the exact same thing that you do on the library page, do right here, right? Next. Next, why should I care? Right, so here you can put coverage, you could put, if you've got some great pull quotes, make them big and make them beautiful, right? Make it so that people read that sentence or 2 or 3 and say, wow, okay, I gotta read that. And then obviously if you've been interviewed or you've got some good reviews, make those links, but make them small. Same thing, accolades, if you've gotten awards about this book or nominations or even been featured in a top 10 list, stick them there. How can I go deeper? This is important when you're building these book pages. For every book, really do your best to give your fans some way to go deeper. So put a for the pan section, right? And in this section, look, I know you're not going to have a lot of extra content for every single book, right? But you can make a lot of extra content for every single book in a very short time. You can answer some frequently asked questions, right? You could make up some frequently asked questions and you could stick them in this area. If people have sent you fan art, or if you feel like commissioning a couple of pieces of fan art on Fiverr or something like that, you could ask permission and you could feature them here. Give readers something that they feel like it's worth their time to explore your website. You could also have naturally giveaways, any reason for people to sign up for your list. This is a great place to put those too. And last but not least, what were my options again? Give them the whole footer. We're going to have to jump real quick through the next pages. The next pages you want to build are series pages. These are going to be exactly the same, except they're going to focus on the series. So you'll notice there's some slight differences up top, but otherwise, basically what you're doing is you're aggregating the content from the book pages onto the series pages. But instead of putting everything on the series pages, you're just putting the best stuff on the series page, and you're leaving other stuff for the book pages so that there's a reason for people to explore. Yes, and one more thing is that we talked about press kits, which we can't talk about today. The slides also include the layouts for press kits, so download the slides. Last thing that we will talk about is the author page. Again, they're largely built the same. I'll pop it up and then I'll tell you real quick. All right, so what do we have up here? Am I in the right place? Yes, I'm definitely in the page that's specifically about the author, right? Not some weird-ass header that's just like a field or something. No, it's your headshot, right? It's your tagline. It's a contact button. Because why else would they come to the About page if they didn't want to go deeper with you, right? Same thing. If you've got a press kit, you're going to want to link it there. Now, notice down in these sections, we're aggregating content again, and again, we're only keeping the best stuff for this page, and we're leaving the rest of it for the other pages. Up here, this is the important section. This is how people go deeper, right? Because if they already saw your headshot and your shorter bio, and they want to go deeper after that, they need more. So these images up here, right? Put some images of you being inviting and professional, right? If you do signings, if you've ever appeared with a fan, if you've been in a bookstore that was beautiful before and you got a picture taken, you in the situation of being a professional author, that's what you want to show people, right? You are a pro and you are approachable. So be smiling, be kind, be happy, hold your book up, right? Do take, Instagram photos. Put the kinds of stuff that you would put on Instagram, stick it here, right? Professional face. Similarly with your bio, people are naturally going to want to go deeper on this page, so it's okay to be longer, but you have to remember that your bio is about persuading people to care about you. It's not about you. So you can include more I'll be here all week. So you can include more personal details, but the personal details still have to be on brand. Unless you write cat cozies, do not talk about your cat, right? Probably you shouldn't talk about your kids. Probably you shouldn't talk about any of the stuff that matters to you in real life. Instead say, let's see, I write urban fantasy that takes place under the streets of New York because I'm from Brooklyn, right? Because I've taken the subway every single day since I was like 10 or 11, right? That's why I write these stories. That's a good detail. Stuff like that is what you'd want to include. Okay, press kits, again, download the slides. You'll see what I have to offer there. And of course, visit our blog, because we publish these huge, deep blog articles about every single topic that you'd want regarding author brand and marketing and tech stuff. Now, I hope that I was able to model for you this. When designing your website, you want to show the people who visit how much you care, right? First, you want to speak the visitor's language, right? You want to convey yourself as clearly to them as you possibly can, right? Think about them. Next, you want to respect the visitor's time. You keep things organized. You keep it clear. You help them get directly to where they want to go as quickly as possible. And last but not least, you clearly demonstrate your value to the person who visits your site, right? What's in it for them? Or as Janet Jackson said, what have you done for me lately, right? That's what your website should be. So just pay attention to this. When designing your website, put yourself in your audience's shoes and work that way. Now, we've talked about how and what. Let's talk about where you can build your website. I know we're running short on time, right? But let's do it real quick. I have looked at the dozens of options out there, and I've used so many of them over my years as a web developer, and I'm going to recommend 4. The top is not the top. 1 is WordPress. Next is Wix. Next is a professional developer, and last but not least is us, SITEARCADE. So, one at a time, WordPress. Okay, so the thing about WordPress is that it is very flexible. You can use WordPress to build any kind of site. And one of the nice things about WordPress is that they've got this separation between the content of a website, right, the information, and the presentation. So you could swap out different themes and you could swap out different plugins. But as you know, the 90% of you who have a WordPress site know WordPress is buggy as fuck, right? When you have a WordPress site, you are solely responsible for finding out what caused the bug, how do you fix it, and how do you prevent it from happening again? Well, you don't prevent it from happening again, because every single time A, WordPress updates, B, any one of your plugins updates, or C, your theme updates, you can get bugs. And the more plugins you use, the more likely that you're going to have negative interactions between them. That said, WordPress also can be very affordable, but the thing is that, you know, if you want to reduce the number of bugs, you're going to get a professional theme and you're going to get paid plugins, and so you're going to start, you know, the cost is going to start rising anyway. Now, when would you use WordPress? We've got these three situations. 1, if you want full control of your website, right? You can use WordPress to do that. 2, you want to keep costs low. If you're willing to not pay for anything, you can probably get, you know, you can probably build a pretty cheap WordPress site. 3rd, if you don't mind the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into actually building the website, right? Like, if you have some technical leaning and it's not as hard for you, great, go for WordPress. But if that's not what you got into writing to do, if you didn't get into writing to build a website, then probably you shouldn't go for WordPress. Now, if you are on WordPress, right, or if you really do think that WordPress is for you, here's some tips. What do we do? Okay, so Namecheap for domain registration and hosting. Namecheap is by far the most reliable, most affordable, and most high-quality host and registrar I've ever encountered. And I've been in ones where you register when the prices are low, and then they boil you like a frog, right? Namecheap I've been with for probably about 10 years, and they have never, ever done that. Their hosting is great too, very affordable. If you're not on Namecheap now and you want to keep your WordPress site, move. Next, use a paid theme. Everybody needs a theme, right? You can't get around to having a theme. So use a paid one because it's going to help mitigate a lot of the bugs. 3rd, use as few plugins as you can. Obviously, the more plugins you have, the more interactions there can be. And finally, and this is the big takeaway for WordPress, disable automatic updates. For WordPress, for the plugins, and for the theme, right? You want to be able to update these things at the place and time of your choosing. Now, people will say you should have automatic updates on for security reasons. Nobody is hacking your website. You're an author, right? You are not, like, who the hell would hack your website? Nobody, so don't worry about that. Just disable automatic updates. Once a year, go in there and update them one at a time, right? Just to make sure, right? You update one at a time so you see which one breaks, if any of them do. But otherwise, if you disable automatic updates, in truth, once you put in that work, you can actually have a pretty stable site, right? If you get it working once and it doesn't update on its own, you're going to be set for a while. So WordPress, it's flexible. Wix. Okay. Now, Wix is a page builder, which means that it doesn't understand your content. This is good because it makes it much less buggy, right? There's far fewer moving parts. Now, it's not as good because Wix sites are unspecialized, right? With WordPress, you have plugins that help them to specialize towards your needs. With SITEARCADE, we're just designed for authors, so we're automatically designed for your needs. But with Wix, you kind of have to shimmy it. Nice part about Wix is that it's stable. The other nice part about Wix is that if you're at a point in your career where you want to do direct sales of pretty much anything, you could do it on Wix. So like if you're at that stage, Wix might be the platform for you. One of the downsides of Wix is that updates are a pain, right? If you decide that you want to add like a new, you want to change the styles or you want to change some of the blocks on your site, you have to go to every single one of your pages and you have to make that change. It's not going to, it's not going to automatically happen across the board. Wix is also a little bit, it's more expensive than WordPress, but it's all right. Depending on which set of features you want, it's between $200 and $350. I think that's affordable. And certainly if you're at a point in your career where you want direct sales, that's definitely affordable. You should use Wix if if you're doing anything that's not related to books, right? You need to have landing pages for other stuff. Wix is a good one for that too, because you just pop up a new page and design it. Also, you should use Wix if you've got good design skills, because you're the one who's doing the designing on Wix, right? With WordPress, at least you could buy a theme that looks pretty. Wix, you have to build it yourself. Ninja tips. Okay, build your site before you buy, right? With Wix, you don't have to pay until you're ready to make your site live. So you have a chance to test it before you use it. It's actually the same thing with SITEARCADE. You can use either one of our editors for years if you like, as long as you don't make your site public. That's a good thing because you don't, with WordPress you actually have to buy the hosting and you have to probably buy the theme and the plugins to see if you actually like it. Last thing, start with a blank template. Wix has a lot of these really businessy starter templates, and you think I'll start from that and make it work, but it just looks too businessy. Start from blank and then build it block by block, just like we built the pages a second ago. Professional devs. Okay, the thing about professional devs, they are costly, right? They're very expensive, but they're really the only way that you can get a unique web experience. So you remember the old Wizarding World website where you're like reading from scrolls and all that stuff? You can do that with a professional dev. You can't do it any other way because it's too unique, right? Downside, obviously, is that sometimes you often will end up paying thousands, and after the website is built, either you have to keep paying for maintenance or you have to maintain it yourself, right? Maybe they just built your WordPress site and now you're, up the river. But look, there's a reason for this. When you're at a later stage in your career, probably your only option is a professional dev because you've got unique needs, right? If you're Chris Fox and you've got like an RPG that's associated with your books and stuff, go wild, go do that. Also, you should use a professional dev if books is not your primary career. Like if you sell books to sell courses, use your own website. Design it from scratch. Ninja tips. Okay, for most authors, use Reedsy. Reedsy, at least you know that those. I know I'm getting real close. Okay, just cut the mic when I'm. Okay, so with use Reedsy, at least you know they built author websites before. Check their websites. If their portfolio is all dead links, don't use them. If they won't get on a video chat with you to discuss your website where you could ask them the hard questions eye to eye, don't use them. If they give you shitty answers to those questions, like for instance, who's responsible for maintenance? About how much do authors charge you for maintenance per year, right? If they say, it depends, well, give me a range. What's the range? Is it between $0 and $1,000, or is it between, 200 and 300 or something? Make sure that you ask and make sure that they answer, and you can do great with a professional dev. For us, SITEARCADE, you guys have probably heard us give this spiel before, but SITEARCADE is designed for authors by authors. We've designed everything with the idea of saving you time, right? So when you sign up with us, you just paste in your Amazon author profile URL. We immediately pull in all the data, we immediately build your site, and then we keep your site up to date with everything that happens. So you publish a new book, we automatically add it to your library, we automatically promote it for a few weeks. You do a price discount on Amazon, we automatically promote that for the duration of the price drop. We have theming tools where you choose a brand color, and then we have we have a palette generator that will take your brand color and it'll find harmonious combinations. So you can't break what your website looks like if you don't have an eye for design. It'll even pull in colors from your book covers. I'm sorry, just give me one more second. It'll even pull in colors from your book covers to build a palette that actually resonates with your full and complete brand. The downside, upside of us is that we're very affordable. We're $100 a year for the one-page version of the site and $300 a year for this version of the site that has all of those other pages, plus we generate press kits. Plus, naturally, we've got tons of features coming down the road, but we built it from the ground up, so we're working on it. That includes domain and hosting and everything. The big downside of us is that right now we're in beta. We launch in January, but even still, we're still building out features. So that means that on the bright side, you have the chance to tell us exactly what you want our service to do, and we'll do it for you. But on the downside, that we don't have every single thing that you could do with other platforms yet. Anyway, use us if you would rather be writing, right? It takes 5 minutes to build a website with us. If you want to be part of choosing how your website works, and if you want to mitigate the cost of using a professional dev, instead we sort of spread it around all of the people who use us, right? Anyway, thank you all for coming. Just one thing, you can get the slides and the handouts, and you can get a 100-page ebook that dives into every single thing that we talked about and how, for forever you're going to build, including the branding stuff and the technical stuff. Next, you can sign up for the beta right here. You could try it, and you could let us know what you love, what you hate, and what you want to happen. And last but not least, we'll be back in the event center tomorrow, so you can ask us questions directly or just find us wherever we are. Thank you so much. Have a great day.